Welcome to the Minute of Terror channel. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment where you're watching this video from. My name's Carlos, and I've been an airplane pilot for over 20 years. These days, I fly commercial routes, mostly at night. But that choice wasn't random. There's something about the dark sky that reminds me that, despite what I went through over a decade ago, I'm still here, alive, and just barely. This story happened more than 10 years ago when I was still doing some air freight jobs for a small company in the backwoods of Tocantins, Brazil. Executive and cargo aviation in Brazil, especially up in the northern region, has its secrets, and I learned that the hard way. Back then, one of the company owners called me late in the afternoon, said there was an urgent, confidential delivery to a ranch deep in the Amazon, and they needed someone they could trust. The plane was a light single engine, an old model but reliable. The cargo? They just said it'd be ready and securely sealed. I didn't need to touch anything. Just take off, fly, land, and deliver. The pay was going to be good. Real good. I didn't ask questions. I got to the hangar around 10 p.m. The night was heavy, low clouds, but no rain. The plane was ready, fueled up, with the cargo already loaded. Two guys I'd never seen before were hanging around. They weren't company employees, dressed in black, barely spoke, and one of them gave me a look like I was just some clueless errand boy hauling stuff without knowing what I was getting into. They handed me a sealed envelope with the destination and instructions. Land at a private airstrip near an isolated village. No radio contact, no full flight plan. Complete discretion, they said. That should have been my cue to back out, but the money talked louder. I took off around 11 p.m. The sky was pitch black, no moon, and the clouds made it feel like I was completely cut off from the world. The engine was humming steady, and everything was fine until about 2 hours into the flight, something weird happened. Out of nowhere, all the cockpit lights went out. The dashboard went completely dead, like the power had been cut. I tried switching to the backup systems, but nothing. The radio was just static, a constant hissing, like someone was breathing right in my ear. I tried to stay calm, keep the plane under control using the manual instruments and the little visibility I had. But then, I started hearing thumps. Metallic, muffled sounds coming from the cargo hold right behind me, down in the lower fuselage. At first, I thought something had come loose, maybe turbulence had shifted the load. But the thumps kept going, rhythmic, almost deliberate, like someone or something was trying to get out. Fear hit me hard. I thought about turning back, but the radio was still dead, and I was in the middle of nowhere. All I could do was keep going. The thumps got louder. I decided to leave the cockpit and check it out. I grabbed an emergency flashlight and climbed down to the cargo hold. There, under a black tarp, was some kind of cage. It was strapped to the floor with heavy-duty ties, but it was clearly taking a beating. The tarp was shaking with the impacts. With my flashlight aimed, I got closer. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. I pulled back a corner of the tarp, just enough to see. And what I saw, it was an animal, or something pretending to be one. Its body was covered in fur, but its face was partly human-like. The eyes were big, yellowish, and stared at me with a clarity no ordinary animal would have. Its limbs, if you can call them that, ended in massive claws with dried blood on them. Or maybe sedative, I don't know. It looked groggy, like it was coming out of some chemical haze. But even so, when it saw me, it growled. A deep, guttural growl from somewhere inside. It lunged at me with such force that the cage tipped over. It crashed sideways with a deafening clang. I jumped back and ran as fast as I could, scrambling back to the cockpit. I locked the access door with everything I had. The plane was shaking a bit, maybe from the creature's movements, maybe from the wind picking up. But I wasn't thinking straight anymore. I just wanted to get there. Luck, if you can call it that, was that I was less than half an hour from the destination. With the instruments still out, I made a visual landing relying solely on my experience. The airstrip was narrow, unlit, but I managed to set down without major issues. I was shaking, soaked in sweat. 3 men were waiting for me. When I got out, they didn't say a word. They climbed straight into the fuselage, opened the cargo door, and calm as you please, pulled out that cage like it was no big deal. The creature wasn't moving anymore, either sedated again or dead. I don't know. I didn't want to know. They signed a receipt, handed me another envelope with the rest of the payment, and told me to get lost. That same night, they put me on a flight back to Tocantins. Not in the same plane, not even with the same company, and I never worked for them again. For months, I had nightmares about it. The image of that creature in the cage, the feeling that something deeply wrong happened that night. I was just a pilot, but I was complicit in a way. After that, I switched careers, went into commercial aviation. I feel safer flying a plane full of passengers and lights than in a lone single engine hauling mysteries. Now, when I look out the cockpit window and see nothing but the dark sky, I think back to that night. And I wonder what that thing was. A genetic experiment? A freak of nature? A creature that should have never been caught? I don't know. Maybe I never will. But one thing I know for sure. I saw it. I lived it. And I've never flown alone again. Translation and localization to American English. My name is Felipe. I'm an old man now, but some memories refuse to fade with time. They come back every now and then in my dreams, or when I hear the static crackle of an old radio. This story happened at the end of World War II in rural Texas, where I grew up with my younger brother, Thomas. Our dad was a practical, hardworking guy, but he had an almost childlike passion for communication. He'd worked as a radio operator early in the war and left us, as both an inheritance and a toy, a Hallicrafters SX 28 transceiver, a sturdy relic of the time, packed with knobs, tubes, and an analog dial that looked like something out of Spaceship. It was a powerful piece of equipment capable of picking up shortwave transmissions from all over the world, and maybe, just maybe, from beyond it. Every night after dinner, the two of us would fire up that metal beast. The sound of static would fill the room like a distant roar. We'd spend hours slowly turning the dial, trying to catch voices from far-off places. We'd pick up news broadcasts in German, Russian, French. Some we could understand, others made no sense at all. Sometimes we'd hear military transmissions, Morse code, or strange interference that sounded like electronic music, a term that didn't even exist back then. One time, we caught a distress call in English. Something about soldiers pinned down, someone shouting coordinates. That kind of thing got us excited, like we were detectives of the airwaves, eavesdropping on the world's secrets. But on that one particular night, something different happened. Something we'll never forget. It was almost midnight. The sky was clear, and the static was low, perfect conditions for picking up signals. I was slowly turning the dial when a woman's voice came through, cutting the silence like a desperate whisper. The procedure didn't work. I repeat, the procedure failed. Thomas looked at me, his eyes wide. It was English, but it didn't sound military, or like a news broadcast. The voice was anguished, human, raw. Seconds later, the same woman came back. Is anyone out there? Please, I need help. I'm trying other frequencies. I don't have much time. It gave me chills. It was like she was trapped somewhere. But where? We tried to respond, even though we knew the radio was receive only. We shouted hello into the room as if she could hear us. We scanned the dial, searching for her voice on other frequencies, but nothing. We stayed there for over an hour, frozen, turning and turning, the tension building. Then, suddenly, on the same frequency as before, she came back. But now she was crying. For God's sake, someone hear me. I don't want to die here. Alone. In space. She said it. Clear as day. In space. I can still hear the way she said that word, like she could barely believe where she was. His body, my companion. It's floating in another compartment. He's not responding. I think he died after the impact. My brother went pale. I was paralyzed. This wasn't fiction. It wasn't a radio play or a prank. The emotion was real. The pain was real. Mom, if you can hear me, I'm sorry. I tried. I did everything I could. I'm running out of air. I'm weak. Please forgive me. At that moment, my heart clenched in a way I only felt again when my own mother passed away. The woman was saying goodbye, not to us, to the world. But then, an interruption. A man's voice, firm and cold, came over the frequency. This is Houston. The signal has been intercepted. Ma'am, I'm sorry to inform you that contact with others will not be possible. The mission remains classified. Houston, like the NASA Control Center, years before we even knew what that was. You are a hero. Some of us will never forget you. After that, silence. We tried searching for the frequency again for days. Nothing. No repeat. No explanation. The next week, we took the radio to an old technician in town. He thought it was strange that we'd picked up something like that. Said that model could sometimes catch ultra-high frequency bands under certain atmospheric conditions. But not from space. And not with that kind of clarity. For years, I thought I dreamed it. But Thomas heard it too. Years later, I tried looking for record from that time. Nothing. It was like that woman never existed. Some say that, behind closed doors, the space program had already started in secret by the end of the war. That experiments were conducted with anonymous astronauts, long before Sputnik. That there were missions that went wrong and were erased from history. If that's true, then we heard one of them. The last transmission of someone who never came back. Today, I still have that radio. It still works, but it's never picked up anything like that again. And when I look at it, I don't just see an old device. I see an electronic tombstone. The last voice of a lonely woman, floating in the void, begging for help that never came. And every time I look up at the starry sky, I wonder, is her body still out there, drifting forever in the silence of space?